I think this is the right end. No, that's not the right end. That was quite simple.
Computer says no.
I don't know what's happening, it's not charging.
Hey, welcome to another edition of Tyrant Pulls and Drives. And I have a confession to make. I have never experienced anxiety when it comes to a test car, but the one I'm driving this week has caused my stress levels to surge. And funny thing is, it's not for the reasons that you think. This is the 2023 Volvo XC60 T8 Recharge. And you're probably thinking, how is this car causing you any anxiety? I mean, it's a Volvo after all. It's safe, it's good looking, it's reliable. So how? Well, the answer is kind of weird, but yet very simple. You see, this car has me suffering of something that we experience every day, especially when it comes to our mobile phones. You know, the dreaded recharge anxiety. Now, this car, as the name says, recharge, means it's a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. And simply put, that you're able to charge the car by plugging it into a wall socket or into a charging point somewhere. And just like you know, with our cell phones, every time when we see there's low battery capacity, all we want to do is to charge it, right? So that's all that I've been wanting to do this week, but initially, you know, kind of was very unsuccessful.
I think this is the right end. No, that's not the right end. Charging one. It's off. That was quite simple. Okay, I don't know what this thing is doing. I'm gonna have to figure it out. If you're gonna be needing to use other sorts of charging, not charging at home, best advice is to check the apps first.
Now, yes, this was all me as I was being a complete and utter recharge noob, because even though I use the Grid Cars website, I didn't, well, RTFM the website to see if the charging points were actually active, meaning it's working or not. But I'm a man, and my excuse is that we don't read instructions well, so yeah, that's my excuse. FYI, just so you know, I did end up finding a way to charge it by simply plugging it literally into a wall socket at home and my office. But don't tell anyone, okay? If you buy this car, Volvo actually gives you a home charging kit, which will take away all this recharge drama. And then the car also, you know, makes use of regenerative braking, and you can even use the engine while it's running to literally charge it. The XC60 Recharge will also replenish its energy a lot faster because it's got a 6.4 kilowatt two-phase onboard charger, which will allow the car to be charged from 0 to 100% within 3 hours. So, you see, there's not really much drama, but being me, well, like my wife says, drama queen. I don't know what she's talking about. Now, talking about the engine, this XC60 T8 makes use of a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged petrol engine, which on its own produces 233 kilowatts and 400 Newton meters of torque. It sends all of its power to all 4 of its wheels via 8-speed Geartronic automatic gearbox, but then it has an electric motor directly attached to the rear axle, and that then adds an extra 107 kilowatts and 309 Newton meters of torque, and with my clever maths, it gives you 340 kilowatts and 709 Newton meters of torque. What makes it even sweeter is that it looks completely, well, understated compared to a lot of its rivals, who will in turn would have put on a big bumper and spoilers and fins and all kinds of other things. This just looks, well, sexy, uncomplicated. It's like the perfect sleeper car, but more about that a little later, once I drive it. On the inside, the cabin is, well, pure luxury. From the super comfortable dual massage front seats, which are both heated and cooled, and even the steering wheel, it's heated. The dash has got classic Volvo styling, and this one even has this wood trim effect in it, and it looks, well, elegant. The portrait style screen, it works really, really well. Volvo perfected this initially, like I said in another review. The only thing is, compared to a lot of its competitors now, it kind of looks small. But I have seen what it looks like in the new EV setups, so it's going to be quite interesting to see what future updates hold for this car and some of the other cars as well. Now, the Android-driven infotainment system, although it's very easy to use, it does feel a little bit, well, outdated right now. But if you make use of an active internet connection, it becomes a lot more functional. Like, all you got to do is to give it an instruction and it will find stuff for you, like simply saying, hey Google, and it will find stuff like directions and even make recommendations to charging points, which, by the way, I didn't really listen to. And it will even find you a couple of other activities. Sadly, there's no wireless Apple CarPlay available, so you still need to use the cable, but Android Auto works really well. It's got shortcut buttons for those people who don't like touching the screen, and it's got controls on here as well. Otherwise, this is a really well-equipped interior, like with all Volvos. And then it has a Bowers and Wilkins sound system, which is also, you know, very cool, thumping, lekker. Let's go check out the back. Seating in the rear, like with all Volvos, is very comfortable. And you know, when you sit in here, you feel pampered, you feel safe, like you cocooned really well. It's a car that I probably won't mind being driven around into, and I like the drive, but I could definitely get used to being in here. Nothing much for me has changed on the interior of the XC60 since my last review, and I'm glad because, well, it impressed not just me, but impressed my family, my friends, and especially my teenage kids. They didn't complain. With this panoramic sunroof, it creates a big roomy effect and everything else onto it. It's got charging points, USB-C at the back, 2 of them. The seats are heated. Air vent controls is right here inside of the door frame, so they can adjust it and put it directly onto them. You can sit 3 people here at the back, but it's probably more comfortable to have 2. With the armrest down, you get 2 cup holders. So yeah, lots of leg room and everything as well. So if you can impress teenagers being in the back of a car like this, then you know you definitely have it made, and it is very comfortable in here. The only thing that you might find a bit of a problem with is the doors. They don't open so wide compared to a lot of other cars, and that would only affect you if you've got a car seat in, especially one of those big bulky ones. Those ones you might struggle with. But it's got ISOFIX points in here and tethering points at the back, so you easily just be able to, once it's in, get it in. But otherwise, that's just it. Otherwise, you know, nothing's changed. It's very comfortable. It's very Volvo-esque. Yeah, I like it in the back here. And you would too. You know what really is impressive overall is how this car just drives. With this air suspension, it feels like you're just gliding over surfaces. And even with the 21-inch wheels, with the road I'm driving now, you can see there's imperfections, but you don't feel it. And it's even funnier when the electric motor is running, because then it's super quiet and it just feels like you're driving in the clouds. Another thing is, this car is the perfect sleeper car. No, it's not a car that you sleep in, but it's a car that, well, it doesn't look fast, but it is. And you know, there's plenty of cars out there that look fast, but then they aren't. And then there's this car. It's, how can I put this? It's smooth and chilled, and then boom. It's a performance car with a 0 to 100 kilometers an hour that comes up in 4.8 seconds. It's so scary quick that when you initially drive this car, you kind of just tend to go, whoa, yeah, I need to kind of concentrate on this because this is quick. It's like calm and serene, and then all of a sudden it's Tasmanian devil kind of crazy. It's unbelievable. But you never feel kind of unsafe with it because of Volvo's safety features that is inside of this car. It's always there to help and assist you. I mean, the top speed is limited to 180 kilometers an hour. And honestly, it's not about how fast it can go, but it's how quickly it can get to that speed and then how it handles. Because this car handles unbelievable. I have to confess though, I have found myself quite recently when getting to a set of traffic lights and there's these people next to me with their fast cars. I tend to stare them down, you know, and then when the robot changes and they go and I absolutely just humiliate them. It's a liquor feeling. The best part is seeing the utter disbelief in their faces. It probably is exactly the same like mine when I initially drove this car. The only difference is though, is that, yeah, they're in my rear view mirrors. Oh man, this is a really impressive car. I love what Volvo's done with this. And I know it's also supposed to be it should be efficient because it's an, you know, electric vehicle. But it's also a heck of a lot of fun. Oh, and you can do this the whole time. Woo! Okay, time to stop being a child and drive properly.
Volvo took an SUV that I like and made it even better, in my opinion. I've always thought that the XC60 was the sweet spot in the range of the XC SUVs for Volvo. It's a little bit bigger than the XC40, so it's perfect for, well, larger families like mine, but still small enough to fit in those tight little tiny garages and bays compared to the XC90. With the different types of driving modes that it has, for example, it's got an off-road mode, which in turn raises the height, but it still feels very soft and comfortable. And then you have the pure power mode, which makes it a lot more sportier, firming up the suspension and the steering, so it's both exciting and chilled at the same time. It's almost like that Miley Cyrus song. You know, it gives you the best of both worlds, and it does all of that because it combines both the performance of a traditional ICE engine and that of an EV with its convenience and that performance as well, but without having to constantly needing to charge it, because it can charge itself, as I've discovered. But you can drive this car in its pure electric mode up to an 80-kilometer range, which means you use less fuel on your daily commute and saves you a little bit. And all of that is because of its 14.7 kilowatt-hour battery that installed. Now, I know it's not groundbreaking, you know, technology and results, but by combining both these types of technologies, you get better fuel efficiency and it's kinder to the environment with low fuel emissions, which means Greta and her crew won't be hiding around a corner waiting for you. With all of that said and done, it's not boring at all. It's a heck of a lot of fun to drive without being, well, show-offish. All that we have to do as guys, though, is to admittedly just read the manual